Hey, what's up out there? It's Dave Duford at Final Expense Agent Mentor. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. I am live, have been live in quite a while. Honestly enough, I've started to run out of live stream video ideas. So I've been racking my brain for some sort of topic to discuss, and ran a bunch of appointments earlier this week, and came to me across one of the sales calls I went on. Wanted to discuss what I would consider my favorite final expense objection rebuttals. Now, so that's going to be the topic of today's video. And to preface the topic, I want to say this. So if you have to understand the structure of how I teach how to sell final expense for this to make sense. My entire sales process that I teach agents is designed to disqualify the people that we sit across the table from. Okay. Now, in some instances, you shouldn't, in most instances, I should say, if you follow my technique as it's taught, you should have very little objections when you're at the very end of the close and you ask for which option works best for the client. So there are, of course, opportunities that you will run across where there is objections, and this is one of the most common ones that I use. And again, just for you guys that are new and you're kind of curious as to how the sales process works, I've got lots of free videos on YouTube. You can check it out. But the idea in general is to start off with building a tad bit of rapport, mostly establishing trust, as well as a unique selling proposition to state who you are and what's in it for the client. Then you spend a lot of your time pre-qualifying the prospect based on their need, want, health, bank, and budget. Then you tell them why our product is better than the others, and why it's of benefit to them to purchase from you, the agent, than as opposed to our competitors. And then the close where we offer the product at the price that is easily affordable for them. So that's the basic process in a nutshell. And at each of those phases, we're eliminating prospects based on whether or not they fit our criteria for buying. So this, again, say all this to assume that we've got somebody who fits the mold. They are high odds buyers. And the odds are pretty high they're going to buy, but they begin to have some sort of resistance. And most commonly what you're going to see when you push the paper across the table and there's three choices and you make a recommendation for, in my case, I recommend which program is going to fit their budget the best is what I recommend. Which one do you want to go with? And then I shut up, and then they sit and think, and they say, well, let me go ahead and think about this. I just need to think about this a little bit more. So what I end up doing is I say, Mrs. Prospect, that's totally fine. I can totally understand why you need to think about this, but how do you mean by that? And then I sit back, relax, keeping eye contact with them, nice, easy gaze, nothing serious, staring them down or anything, and wait for them to respond. Again, this is crucial that you remain quiet in the midst of this in order to establish whether or not they're going to give you more information. And what commonly I come across when this happens is that people will say, well, you know, I want this, but I'm not sure exactly what to do or if it's going to fit my budget. And so what this does, by saying, how do you mean, it gives us a next level below this initial, like, I don't know if this is for me, or I'm not quite sure yet. I need to think about it, kind of a nebulous, unspecific type of objection. That's not really the reason. Thinking about it is just a statement, but you got to get below to the next level to figure out, well, what is it that they need to think about? And how do you mean allows for an open-ended process for the client to explain more. And for what I see commonly, again, presuming you follow my process as I've described, what I see commonly is somebody who says, I just don't know if it's going to A, fit in my budget, or B, really how much I really want. Like they're indecisive at a particular amount of face amount. So here's how I recommend closing it. And this method that I'm going to show you, this objection rebuttal I'm going to show you, it does two things. Number one, it allows us to offer what I would consider a reasonable compromise, as I'll explain in a minute, to see if they're actually really serious or they're just playing prospect and for some reason you didn't quite pre-qualify them as effectively enough. So here it goes. So I'll read back or say back what they said. So what you're telling me, Mrs. Prospect, is you like the idea of what you're seeing here. You just don't know which direction you want to commit to. Is that what you're saying? Or you like the idea of which plan, but you're not 100% sure as to which budget is going to be the best based on the face amounts. And they say, yes, that's exactly right. And so what I follow up with after that, as I say, Mrs. Jones, just to make sure I'm completely clear for my sake, what you're telling me is you're 100% committed to getting insurance. There's no question about that. It's just that you need to make sure as to which one of these products are going to be best for you. And then they say, I agree. So we know that they want this, and they're ready to buy, but they need help with the direction. Sometimes it's just talking to a kid if they do have a kid involved. Again, this is a minority of times, so it doesn't happen all the time. You should have very little objections when you follow the process I teach, but you will, and this is the kind of one you'll hear a lot. So how do you handle it? So here's my proposition, and this is exactly how I started. So, well, Mrs. Jones, here's my proposition for you. So I live down in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and it doesn't matter, state where you live. It doesn't matter if you're 20 minutes away. It doesn't matter if you're 2 hours away at the prospect's home. I'm 2 hours away from where you live today, and I'm not going to be back here. I work all over the place, and it's very hard for me to get back up here for just one trip to finalize an application. So here's my thought process. I want to see what you think. And this is only if you're 100% committed to this and you just need to make a decision on how much to get. Let's go ahead and do the paperwork today. Let's get everything signed up. Let's get everything necessary to start the process of getting you qualified. And let's start with the lowest one. See on the spreadsheet there, it's the three options. It's $5,000 for $50 a month or whatever. Let's start with that one. And then you can call me over the weekend. And if I don't hear back from you, or give it a day or two, today's Thursday, if I don't hear back from you by Friday, I'm going to send this in as a $5,000, and you know that you've got your policy process going. Everything's going to be good, and at least you've got something on the books, because remember, you can always add more later. How does that sound to you, Mrs. Jones? And usually what they'll do is they'll sit back, and this is probably about 3 out of 4 of the rebuttal objections that I give. To the objections I give, they'll say, yeah, that makes sense. Let's go ahead and just do that. If they come back and say, well, I don't really know if I want the $5,000, and they're going to give you a little bit more resistance, then you can kind of take it the next step and say, well, let's just do everything, but decide on the amount. I'll leave you the prices, and then you'll call me on Monday, or I'll call you Monday or Friday, and you'll tell me exactly which amount that you want. So that gives it a little bit more uncertainty as to which one you're going to go with. But I always say go for the $5,000 because that's the least resistance. It's the least price. And most of the objections that are manifested around, can I afford this for the long haul? And so if you just pick the cheapest one of the 3 options, usually it allows for the opportunity to close something. And again, that's kind of the biggest thing, is getting people committed up front is the biggest challenge, especially if they don't have any kind of insurance. And so this allows for that next step to be reached. And then, hey, if they don't contact you the following day, then you have the permission, the implicit permission to send this bad boy in and get paid on it. So I did that a couple of times this week. It works very effectively. You want to go ahead and make sure you get all of their personal information, the social security number, the banking information, just like you'd normally write up an application. And don't leave anything left, any loose strings untaken care of, okay? Because if you do, there's about a 50-50 chance it'll actually come through. That's why I don't like to say, let me leave and let you decide at a later date. It's more effective to say, hey, let's just get the low, at least one, and then call me tomorrow if you want it higher. Because it puts pressure on them to call their dad or call their parent or whatever, their kid, and get an answer from them in a short period of time. And as opposed to drawing this out over a week, that's unnecessary. Hey, quick text message or phone call, get their thoughts, and then you can get an answer tomorrow. And then if it allows them not to have to do anything, to understand that they're going to at least get something and to get the minimum. So to me, it's very effective. It saves your time, especially if you guys work a wide radius and you're not going to be in the area. You have to tell these people flat out that I'm not going to make it back. And you shouldn't allow your time to be abused like this. You should be in prime control. Even if you are going to be back in the area, you've got other people to see that need your help. And there's no reason, you can't tell them that either. Hey, I've got lots of people to see. They make their minds up when I first present this to them. And if you need to think about it, that's fine. Let's start with the $5,000 and then call me tomorrow if you want to up it. That way at least we got something in the direction of where we need to go. So hopefully that makes sense. So, all right, let's see here. Hey, Marie, how you doing? Nice to meet you. So that is it for today. I just wanted to put together a quick video on rebuttaling objections. Again, if you like the idea of learning how to sell final expense more effectively, I highly recommend that you check out my YouTube videos. Put in final expense sales training. If you go to my videos, there's a playlist for the sales training videos. Lots of free information, very useful, especially if you're new or experienced. Also, if you're interested in selling final expense and you'd like to work for my agency, you can check out me at feagentmentor.com. Or if you're happily contracted with an agency but like the idea of more advanced training, live streams like this kind of thing, we do what's called the Inner Circle program. It's a month-to-month subscription where you get live training, you get access to my training materials, but you don't have to necessarily do any business with me either. Hey, Paul, nice to meet you, sir. Vancouver, cool, man. Final expense up there, that's cool. So thanks for joining me, guys. I will be back next week. We're going to talk about errors and omissions and how to buy it, where to buy it, as well as your continuing credits. So we'll see you then, okay? Y'all take care.